Welcome to another episode of the Refined Peasants podcast. I'm Wyatt.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Nick.
Alright, let's get after it. Alright, so today we're going to cover cancel culture. And to my knowledge, you said it was like first named in 2017. Is that like the first known thing of it? Like who was the first like guy to get canceled?
So the term cancel culture came around in 2017. And I guess it was during a hearing or something in Congress. It's the cancel culture mob. I don't know who exactly was the first victim of it, to be perfectly honest. We tried doing a little bit of research. When you try to Google who they canceled first, you naturally can't find them.
Right.
So I think the first place to start here is, cancel culture's not always bad. So you got people like Bill Cosby. Weinstein. The people who have really done horrible shit. What was his name? The dude who faked the lynching in Chicago.
Smollett.
Yeah. Smollett or whatever.
Jesse. Is it Jesse Smollett?
That comedian Colin. Smollett.
Dave Chappelle?
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle. Another victim of cancel culture. You remember whenever he got COVID? God, they went after him.
And he told him to get fucked. He did a whole special about going to get fucked.
That's a man who knows his fans right there.
Yeah.
So, like...
my biggest question is, what is the difference between boycotting and cancel culture? That's my first question. Or is there even a difference? Because to me, it's almost the same thing.
Okay, so Ganyo or those bean manufacturers. Goya, yeah. No. So that's a boycott. Like a boycott is when you don't.
Are you attacking just a company instead of a person? Is that like the only difference? Because boycott's usually a establishment, like a restaurant or something. Will that be the only difference?
You can definitely boycott an individual too.
Like only prominent individuals though. You can't really like how are you going to boycott you or me? Like I mean, okay, we have a podcast now, but
you can just stop watching.
Other than that,
yeah. So boycotting, that's true. Yeah. So like. They couldn't go after you and me, like, I think boycott-wise, right? So they would have to cancel us. Like, get us fired from our job or whatever that meant.
Right.
But, okay.
So what I was trying to say was cancel culture's not always bad. All right? There are some people that do some really irreprehensible things in this world, and they deserve to be canceled. So Bill Cosby drugging and molesting women on the set of the Cosby Show, that's awful. Like... All right, dude should probably not work in show business anymore. Like he's
in jail now.
Yeah.
Oh well, good. Harvey Weinstein's the same thing. Jussie Smollett, I think, deserved to be canceled. Like you don't fake a racial hoax like that because one, it makes it harder to believe when someone actually does have a problem, and two, you did it just for money. Like I feel no pity for you losing your job. So it's not that there's no time to cancel people. It's just I feel like it's gotten way out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't think it'd be hard. You'd have to have a really, really radical view for me to accept you being fired for your job, especially if your job was not political or not anything like that. Like if you were like a real estate agent and you got fired for having views that aren't necessarily mainstream, then that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's really not. It's one thing if it's like Holocaust denial and you work at a museum or something. You know what I'm saying? Like the the Smithsonian or something.
Right.
It's like that's different. But if you're just like a random person who has an opinion on an issue that maybe isn't necessarily popular, then it's like that's not fair.
What would you say about Chris Pratt? Like all he did was like a post that says God exists and everyone wants his job.
He didn't go to a Biden rally that he didn't support. Or charity?
Well, thankfully, he is a damn decent person, and everyone... Because I don't know if there's another Democrat on that cast, like the Avengers cast, but basically, whenever they came out and tried to cancel him, they were like, no.
Yeah.
He is our friend.
I think you meant Republican, but yeah. I don't know that there is another Republican in him. Because Chris Evans for sure isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Chris Hemsworth. Robert Downey Jr. is probably not a Republican.
No.
But, I mean, they all did come to his defense, and that's really what needs to happen. Like, we need to tell these, like, when it's not something that deserves canceling, we all just need to collectively tell them to fuck off.
What's it, is it director of Guardians of the Galaxy? They canceled him then. Disney fired him, and it took
Fired the director? Or fired Chris? Or tried to fire Chris?
I think they fired the director because he said some terrible jokes. They were jokes, but they were pretty bad.
Oh.
So Disney fired him, and it took the cast and a bunch of people to get him back onto the new movie.
Well, so, and I know right now we're focused on Hollywood, but there's that new thing, The Bachelor. Like, so, I don't know, I don't watch The Bachelor, I don't care about The Bachelor. My wife doesn't even watch The Bachelor. But someone made a racially insensitive comment. I don't know what the comment was. Doesn't seem to be that outrageous, but I guess it's all just falling apart, and it might destroy The Bachelor.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Okay, so what about what if you said something in a private conversation?
That wasn't meant to...
Wasn't meant to be public information. I'll get to the specific individual I'm thinking of.
My question is, was it told as a joke? Was it like a joke told, or was it like his actual beliefs? Like
It was his actual beliefs in this case.
Well, the problem is, if it may be in private, but once it's public...
I guess it depends what you said in private. Like,
so,
is it...
Yeah.
It was the owner of the LA Clippers, and his name is Donald Sterling, and he said some pretty racially insensitive things, and they basically took his team from him. And that, yeah. They basically, because they can't actually, like, force you to sell your team, so they basically made his life a living hell until he decided to sell his shares.
Huh.
Yeah, but, I mean, there was no hiding what his,
Gabe, shut the fuck up!
There you go.
Sorry about that.
And that solves that.
That's one
Sorry,
word.
yelling at the dog.
Bastard.
No, we're leaving that in. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they really took his team from him?
Yeah, so they can't actually force you to sell your thing. It's just like if he was an owner in like Berkshire Hathaway, it's like they can't make you sell anything, but like
Robin Hood did. Game stonk and go Burr.
Stonks. But
God damn it.
So they just made his life a living hell until they made him sell the team, and he ended up selling it for a lot less than the LA Clippers were worth. And it wasn't fair in the sense that, like, he didn't get the market value, but at the same time, like, he was making a lot of money off of African-American athletes in the NBA, and then, like, he just, like, the comments were pretty bad.
Like, are we talking, like, can't say him on YouTube
Can't
bad?
say him on YouTube bad.
Probably can't say him nowhere.
Can't say him, really shouldn't be saying him in private either.
Yeah.
How old is this gentleman?
He's an older guy.
Okay, that
Yeah.
at least makes more sense.
Yeah, we're gonna make the different time argument, are we, Nick?
No, I'm not gonna make it. Shouldn't be said, but you're gonna tell me like an old man. I can see it. It's like
You can see why he believes those things.
It doesn't shock me that an old man believes that.
this is
right.
Is what I think you're trying to say.
Yeah.
You're not trying to justify his
Oh,
beliefs.
God, no.
You're just trying to say, I mean, like, being raised in the time, like, times were different back then.
Yeah.
People were raised.
I just want to point out that your boat was filling rapidly with water, and here comes Wyatt with the fucking bucket. Like, God damn it, Nick.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, but you can't say it like that.
Yeah, you say it like that, you're gonna get us. I don't know.
You should have
What are they
managed
gonna do?
Donald Trump's campaign.
what are they gonna do? Demonetize us?
Oh, that's fair. I mean,
Sure.
I don't know. So, and without knowing what statements he said, I mean, if I'm gonna trust your judgment in saying that it's really bad.
It was pretty bad.
So, I mean, you can't. He has a right to own a business no matter what his beliefs are. That goes for anybody. Now, is it okay for society to push those beliefs to the side? Yeah. I mean, so if you were an actual neo-Nazi on Facebook, people should be able to be like, I don't want to associate with you.
Right.
Like, it's freedom from association. Like, look, you believe what you believe. I don't want nothing to do with that. The difference is, it wasn't the fans of the LA Clippers that were like, okay, we're just not going to come to games until you sell the team. It was the rest of the NBA being like...
Well, it was a little bit of that, too. It was pretty much a collective effort. I'm not going to say I felt bad for the guy, because what he said was definitely fucked up and horrible. But the whole world for a time was against this guy. Like, nobody was defending. It was almost, it wasn't as bad as what Harvey Weinstein did, but it was like the scrutiny towards him was definitely on par, I'd say. Because, that Like, the players were at one point going to boycott. They were like, well, we're not going to play if this is... But, you know, it was right around, like, they were trying to make the playoffs.
Would that be a boycott or a strike? I mean, technically, you're the...
A little bit of both.
Yeah, you're the employees.
The players would strike.
Now, did he get fired? Okay, so they made the play. Did they, like, lose a game and they thought, oh, this is our cop-out, we can fire him because he lost a game?
No, well, you can't fire.
It sounds like he was forced to sell. He was an owner.
Was it an owner? Or?
Yeah, you can't really fire an owner. Like, how does that make any sense? You know what I'm saying? But like, he was forced to sell, and forced to sell is the right word. It's not like they, you know, gave him an incentive, or they gave him market value for his team, or they met his return on investment. No, they're like, you're gonna sell it for whatever. Because, I mean, that brand was dead for about a year. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, you no longer get to associate with us. Exactly. We're going to cut you out because you're a piece of shit. And, I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Like I said, again, you don't have to associate with anybody.
Right. It's not like he was arguing for lower taxes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They made him sell. He called, like, the NBA is, like, over 95% black.
Oh,
and he, you know, was saying those things. So, like, he was ready to condemn him and call him the awful word, and you know, but he was willing to profit off of him.
Right, while he's making millions.
That's fucked up.
God, was it the Ohio State coach who they basically fired? They canceled him because of
the domestic abuse scandal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's
yeah. It's just
can't go around beating your wife. Like,
yeah. Well, you know, there's one Ohio State person in Congress right now. He was their wrestling coach. I think he was their assistant wrestling coach, and he covered up a sexual assault scandal. He ended up getting fired.
God damn you, Buckeyes fans!
His name's Jim Jordan. Look that up.
Now,
that Jim.
Why does that sound familiar?
He's the old guy, and he's like a rather fit Republican in the House. He's part of the Freedom Caucus. He was originally a Tea Party guy.
Oh,
that got turned into a Republican.
Just like the rest of the Tea Party.
Yeah, just like the rest of the Tea Party.
So, I think one cancel that Wyatt definitely disagrees with was Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, I guess while we're on the topic of NBA sports.
Yeah, so let's talk about Kaepernick. I mean, I don't agree with what he did at all, but I think a team has the right to not sign you if they don't think. Probably they're going to use the excuses he probably wasn't good enough for the team,
which is a fair argument for Colin Kaepernick. I mean, he wasn't the best quarterback in the league. He led him to a Super Bowl. That's true,
but he lost, so it doesn't matter.
He did lose, but he led him there.
So did Matt Ryan. Look at how that turned out.
Matt Ryan's a franchise quarterback, but this is a little off topic. I think. I mean, I don't think he got fired because of his lack of ability. You know, he's definitely a top 64 quarterback on the planet. You know, he would make a roster talent-wise, no doubt.
So then here's my question. When they brought him to, like, a private showing for these other teams, it was just going to be him to try to get him another slot on an NFL team. Why did he just outright refuse?
Well, all the reports came out saying that it was like a sham of a tryout, which, I mean, you could debate that, but basically all the teams were forced to come and watch the tryout. No team had any intent signing him. Whatever he did perform, he actually did have a hell of a tryout. He just showed up. Was it a full day late, or was it just a couple several hours?
It was several hours, and he didn't show up where he was supposed to, and he refused to use the wide receivers they had planned. He wanted to bring his own personal wide receivers.
I don't think that last one, like bringing in your own guys, is a huge thing, because I'm sure there's like a...
Yeah, but there's a chemistry thing. It's an inborn... It's an innate advantage because they know how you're going to throw. They know your runs. Like
he knows how fast they are.
It's just going to make you look better.
But if I'm Colin, I would you just gave him an excuse. You know what I'm saying? Like you just by showing up late and being unprofessional, because like that's a big thing for quarterbacks. Is like they want you to be like
you're the team lead,
suit and tie.
You are the face of that team.
You're the face of the entire organization. You are supposed to be like the most professional. And there's an argument there, but I don't think that's why he was originally fired.
Well, so there's an argument, like, you're going to, like, do you believe that he was fired because he was protesting? Right?
Yeah, I think he was, so Black Lives Matter was not nearly as popular back then as it is now. Like, is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there at least weren't riots for 6 months.
Right. And he was at least then peacefully protesting. He said, this is how I'm going to use my platform to bring attention to the cause. Not saying that I necessarily even agree with the cause. I'm just saying this is America. It's like the best thing about this place.
So,
right?
But go ahead.
Here's my issue. So, what does the NFL care about the most? Money.
What does any corporation care about the most?
So, when Colin Kaepernick was doing his protest, there was a significant drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as a business, everyone would tell you, NFL is a business, all right? They don't care. It's all about the business. And as a business person, if I see my team, my attendance go down, our ratings go down, I'm not making much more money. Sorry, you got to go.
Yeah.
Business is ruthless.
And I think that's absolutely true. I think it is a business, and he got to the point where he was causing them a lot more money than he was worth.
Well, and not just his own team, but he started a movement within the NFL, and it was costing the NFL as an organization. People were tuning out because it was like, we're not watching it.
Yep.
Because most football watchers are red-blooded Republicans.
Most of them just want to watch a football game. They don't really care what you
true.
have to say.
That's way more accurate. I was joking. Like, you can enjoy football, but you don't, like, I don't want to watch a TV show and get politics shoved down my throat.
Right, yeah.
And it's not, I'm not trying to say, shut up and dribble or whatever. Who was
Laura
it?
Ingram.
Yeah.
No, but definitely realize that you're playing a kid's game for millions of dollars.
So I understand why he was fired. It was because he was costing them money. If he wasn't costing them money, it would have been a lot harder for them to find a reason to get rid of him.
No.
But that's kind of the point of what I'm saying. Is it okay to fire somebody for an opinion that costs you money?
So the number one priority for corporations is their profit margin. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a good and bad thing of capitalism.
I mean, yeah.
They've got to bring money to their investors.
That's true.
So
I mean, players have been cut for drama in the locker rooms and stuff. All these sort of things.
I mean, bad publicity. Like
Yeah.
all the wife beaters or dog fighters in the NFL. You get them kicked off, and now that's just a view. Now it's a particularly more atrocious view than kneeling. I mean, I don't like kneeling for the national anthem, but you're at least not smacking your wife in an elevator.
Right.
Like,
so what would you say to someone who says, like, so they kicked out Colin for that, but there's a couple of players that are still in the league, like mainstream, like good players that are in domestic abuse, like Kareem Hunt, for example. He was a running back for the Chiefs, and now he's for the Browns, and he kicked his wife. And Joe Mixon, who was a Sooner, and now he's a Cincinnati Bengal, he punched a woman in a bar in Norman, and I don't mean just kind of hit her.
Oh, okay.
I mean he almost killed that woman with one punch.
well, he's a fucking football player.
In my defense of Joe Mixon, you never hit a woman. Never should lay your hands on a woman. The thing she called him, the slurs she called him, at some point...
At what point is violence appropriate?
There is a... Now, you shouldn't hit her. I would never hit her. But...
I mean, why not just remove yourself from the situation? Why not just walk away?
She was following him, was the problem.
Yeah,
and
but where's she gonna follow? She gonna follow you home? Because then we've got a case. Like,
essentially, she followed him around, just called him, and eventually he just had enough.
Right. So you're not saying he should have hit her. You're just saying that, like, he, you understand, like, he reached his limit, and he
reached that boiling point, and finally he just snapped.
Now
and it probably
and there's a good point. Like, if it was a dude talking shit to him, apparently the way he was, no one would bat an eye.
Oh yeah, look at the new OU. What's it? Spencer Jones case where he was mouthing off to a wrestler, got his ass whooped, and now he's trying. Now the wrestler had to lawyer up because OU's going to sue him.
I mean, if you're talking flack to me, and I try to walk away, and you just keep on, then and you're a dude, I'm gonna turn around and deck you. Now, obviously, women have certain privileges. Obviously, men, like Nick said, you should never lay your hands on a woman violently. Only sexy.
Only lay your hands if your life is threatened. Only time you should
she pulls a gun, then she's got a pair of balls. So
like,
you go ahead.
So, but these people, and the good news, I'm not knocking on Joe Mixon. What he did was wrong, and he knew what it was. He knew that it was wrong when he did it. He went straight to the police. He handled it after the hit, of course. He handled it about as good as you could have done it.
Like, look, this is what I done did.
And he's a changed person now. He's a great human being. I've actually had the luxury. I met him at a Quavo concert in Norman.
Oh, cool.
He's actually a really, really nice guy. And
so
I didn't obviously talk about that. So
he's just a good person who snapped once.
Who made a mistake, right?
Right.
Yes.
But we're not talking, like, that's not the majority of people, or at least not the people I think you're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about, what's his name, who fought dogs, like, 3 times?
Michael Vick.
Yeah, and he just keeps coming back. Like, so animal cruelty is obviously not the same as beating your wife. But it's still animal fucking cruelty. Like, these dogfighting rings are terrible. And nobody, like, everyone's like, oh, outrage. And then he comes back to the NFL and he's not caught for a while and everyone forgets about it.
Yep.
And I get it, he's changed. Michael Vick's changed.
Yeah, okay.
But you can't change the past.
To be completely honest with
You've straight murdered animals.
Michael Vick really didn't get canceled because, the NFL was never going to do anything about it, but they had to take his ass to jail over it. The NFL was...
Like, as soon as he was out of jail, he was on a team.
Because Michael Vick was... he was really good.
Yeah, it's like if Tom Brady did something bad, it's like, yeah, but he's still fucking Tom Brady. He's going to bring us more money than...
Right, so Brady was a Trump supporter, and nobody really cared. Number one, Brady's not a big political guy. He's not going to shove politics down your throat. He understands he's a football player.
He's there to win games.
He's there to win games.
Right, and see, so I want to draw a line here, too. So, I don't want politics in my sports. I listen to enough politics. I watch enough politics. When I'm ready to tune it out, I'm ready to tune it out. All right? So, but I have no problem with these people making their voices heard as individuals. So, off the field, off the court, whatever. If you want to, host a press conference and you want to do a whole 30-minute expo on Black Lives Matter and why you're upset about what's going on, I don't think they should be able to fire you for that. But when you're in uniform, on the field, being the only reason you're being televised is because you are employed by this team.
Yeah, you're there to do your job.
Yeah, you're there to do a job. So, like, for me, for instance, I can't wear anything that associates my work and go to a protest. Because that reflects badly on them. I can't do media interviews unless I have express permission from our communications division. Like, what you do in your private time is separate from what you do when you are performing a job you're being paid for.
So, I agree with you to some extent, but for a bunch of these players, this is the only platform that they have. So, like, the only reason people would ever tune in to, like, the LeBron Jameses of the world, or the Kaepernicks, or the Bradys, is because they play football. That's the only thing that they have. Now, so, like, if Kaepernick would have... And it's not like he was kneeling during a game. It was just 5 minutes max during the anthem, maybe a little bit after.
But while it's being televised, though.
That's true. Well, honestly, the NFL did a pretty smart job. They just quit televising the national anthem.
Yeah.
And it's like, well...
Yeah.
Best of both worlds?
Yeah.
Right. They said that's what we're going to do. Or before even that, coaches would just leave their teams in the locker room.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, do what you're going to do out here.
Yep.
Or in here.
Yep. And that's fine. But back to, like, the whole cancel culture thing. I mean, he was, in a sense, canceled by a monopoly. But I don't know how you can do anything about that one, about the Kaepernick one.
I mean...
Because you can't force a team to sign him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
But,
especially when, he's $1 million player. And now I'm going to fight back a little bit on the whole idea that these players don't have a platform. I mean, LeBron James could go on CNN.
Right.
LeBron James could, he could do whatever he wants. These are millionaire players. If they wanted to, they could get out and make their voices heard outside of their platform.
They can make their own. They can make their own podcast.
Make their own podcast, or they could get on news shows, especially sportscasting news. Like, I just don't... When you're at work, being paid by your employer, that is not the time to bring your politics into it.
Well, school thing, politics and works never go together.
Well,
keep them separate.
There is a weird exception to that, and it's sports. And people think I'm crazy whenever I say this, but sports and politics has always kind of been mixed together. So you can go back to the 50s. So Jim Brown, old running back for the Cleveland Browns. Huge racial, civil rights activist, crazy. Muhammad Ali, same thing. I forget what the two... You've probably seen the photo. It's the two track athletes that plays first and third. They wore the black glove and they got the power fist. You know what I'm talking about?
Jesse Owens?
No, it's not Jesse Owens. It's goodness gracious.
Is that the Olympics?
Yeah, their names escape me. But so they've done politics, calling for racial justice. It's always been a weird thing in sports. Bill Russell's another one. It's always kind of been mixed. LeBron James is just kind of the newest form of that. And they've always used their sports as their platform, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. The difference between Colin Kaepernick and, like, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown was the best, he's still arguably the best football player that's ever played.
Top three no matter what.
Right. According to some people, he may even be number one. Muhammad Ali is still regarded as one of the greatest boxers of all time.
Yeah,
definitely. I think that's the difference, is that he wasn't good enough, unfortunately. And that is a separate issue from the cause itself. Like I said, to me, it doesn't matter what the issue is. It's do you have a right to say it and not be fired? And I think that's the thing. Now, we can switch off of Kaepernick for a second. Because I think we've said do you want to finish this up on sports? Or just Kaepernick in general?
I agree that's... Okay, so maybe back then, at the time, where all you had was TV and radio. That was it. That was the only way you could... Now, with what we live in, I don't see that argument because, again, you can start your own podcast. There's tons of different ways.
Didn't have the access to
modern technology.
To platforms that we do now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a fair argument, I
guess.
guess.
If LeBron James started, or especially Kaepernick at the height of his attention, he could start a podcast. How many viewers does he get right off the bat?
Look at his Twitter alone.
Now, okay, so we're going down the rabbit hole of if they have another platform, is it still okay to remove the one from them?
Right.
I see the business side of it.
I don't think anyone's going to argue the business side of it. Like, if he's costing you more money than he's worth, then he got to go. So, but is it ethically right?
Right.
And is he a victim of cancel culture?
I believe to an extent he was.
Is
it again cancel culture or is it boycott? People were just boycotting the NFL because they knew, because it started with Kaepernick and then every team was basically kneeling.
Well, I think the boycotting cost him his job.
Yeah.
And I think now that's not saying that he hasn't financially recovered since then. It was never a financial problem he had.
Yeah, Nike signed him on an endorsement deal.
It's not like he can't go play football somewhere else. He can.
Interesting fact, he actually made more with that contract with Nike per year than he did in the NFL.
Yeah, he's made money since being canceled.
But I don't know his heart, but I don't really think that he did that thing. I don't think he kneeled to make money. Because
I don't think so. I think he passionately believed in what he believed.
I mean, I don't know how good of a quarterback he was. I don't watch a lot of NFL myself, to be personally.
He was average.
I mean, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he was doing it to. He was doing it to bring attention to a cause he thought needed attention. And I may disagree with it. I think Black Lives Matter's a bunch of shit, but not to say Black Lives don't matter at all.
The movement,
I'm just saying,
the movement.
Yeah, the movement, the principle behind the movement is a bunch of shit.
Now look whose boat's filled with fucking water.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. Get the bucket, guys. But I guess we can. Do we have any other thoughts on Kaepernick? I mean,
so to some extent, we all agree that he's at least somewhat of a victim of the culture. I'm just not quite sure how because you can't force a team to stick with him. You know what I'm saying?
Again, he can go play in the Canadian, any amateur football league. He could go play.
He could go play in any other football league around the world and be a top tier quarterback.
He goes from average.
But
to
you only
top
make
five.
you only make like $200K a year in those other leagues. Where in the NFL, you making money.
The fourth string
player
is still making.
Like LeBron James could go be an all-star in Japan, but he ain't gonna make the money he makes in America.
Right.
Good transition. What about comedians? You think comedians should be should be exempt from saying certain things? Do
you have a comedian besides? I mean, Dave Chappelle didn't really say anything.
Kevin Hart,
Steven Crowder,
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
So what did he say? He was hosting the Oscars, right?
He was hosting the Oscars, and some people dug up his tweets. And I can't remember the joke exactly, but he tweeted saying that if his son was playing with a dollhouse, he would beat him over the head with it. A lot of people thought that was homophobic. I thought that was hilarious. And they demanded an apology. And like an idiot, he apologized. And you know what they said? That's not enough.
Yeah. And they still took it away from him. There was no host that year.
Yeah.
Which I don't watch anyway.
And his new stand-up, Zero Fucks Given, he talks about it. And he basically said, basically goes, yeah, fuck apologize. I'm done with that shit. Even he agrees that one apology is never enough.
And I think what you're saying is true. Like, one apology is never enough. You're never going to please the woke.
Yeah.
And I mean that, like, literally. You will never, ever, ever please them enough. It won't be enough. He could have given away half his salary that year. Wouldn't have been enough.
Right.
Wouldn't have been enough.
And you're absolutely right. So if anyone of our listeners gets to be a victim of cancel culture for whatever reason, unless it's a horrible reason like racial slurs or neo-Nazi or something, because then you deserve it. But
I mean, look at Ron.
never apologize.
No.
Ever. Because all you're doing is you're affirming it to them that you know what you did was wrong, and they're going to eat you faster.
Yeah. So we're not against like the legitimate reasons to fire somebody and scrutinize someone from society. We have a problem with the bullshit ones like the Kevin Hart, like the Chris Pratt.
No offense. Comedians, their whole job is to toe that line between...
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, all offensive jokes are funny. The best jokes are the ones with shock humor. Like, you makes you laugh and go, aww.
Right. And, I mean, like, so there are some jokes that are a little bit off color, and sometimes I don't necessarily enjoy them. But, I mean, who's that old... He's that old dude, and he's got the rat tail. But, I mean,
George Carlin.
Every word out of his mouth is offensive. And it's hilarious.
Rat shit, bat shit, dirty old twat. Just
Yeah.
9 assholes tied.
Yeah, and he's...
Hey, loser shit.
Fuck! And he's great. Every bit of his stand-up is great.
Mm-hmm.
But he would not survive woke culture.
He really would have told him he's actually got a great bit on feminism and like people who are pissed off at him, and he just basically told them like, hey, go get fucked. If you're a comedian today, you owe the reason you can say all the 7
curse words.
The 7 deadly words is what they were called back in the 70s. And the only reason you can say them is largely because of him and later on, Rush Limbaugh. As much as controversial as both of those were, you owe them a great thanks on why you can say anything over radio waves.
You got people like Bill Burr, who, if you ever watched his comedian, he's hilarious. To me, he's hilarious. To some people, he's not. I find him, hilarious. And it's like... They try to cancel him, and he basically said, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well, and that's the appropriate reaction. Like I said, so, I mean, like you said, comedians walk the line between what's socially acceptable and what's funny. Mm-hmm. Because what's funny is often not socially acceptable. And humor's subjective. What I find funny may not necessarily be what this other person finds funny. What I find offense is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
There's no universally offensive... I mean... Some dude shitting on your front porch, that's probably universally offensive, but there's not a lot that universally upsets us as a species.
Right.
So, there's a comedian on Netflix, he's Scottish, and in one of his bits, he told a Christian joke about, Jesus was definitely, dark-skinned, he was not white. And this lady after the show was saying, she goes, first half of the show, I loved. I thought that was hilarious. He goes, first half of the show was a bunch of pedophile jokes. Notice how it didn't offend her because it didn't betray her?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all of this stuff's funny. Most people that watch a comedian, they think, oh, that's funny until it affects them. And they're like, how dare he? How dare he make a joke
until you feel personally attacked.
So everyone loves to laugh, but no one loves to be laughed at.
Yeah.
And, no offense, comedians are supposed to tell those jokes.
Right.
Comedy is a very strange one to me, why anyone would want to cancel it, because all you have to do is just not watch them. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's not like you're a 49ers fan, It's like, well, you have to watch Kaepernick then. Like, a comedian is like 100% you went to see him.
You said you paid for him.
Well, it's the same thing like trying to cancel musicians. Like, so Lady Antebellum had to change their name. Who was that one who was drunk off his ass? This is a country guy. Drunk off his ass, and he hollered the N-word with a soft A. Like, and he was hollering it
Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, he was hollering it to a friend. He obviously didn't mean any offense by it.
Yeah.
But they shut him down. He lost his record label.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's making money now, though. Like, all of his songs, it's the same thing. It's the kind of the reverse effect of what they tried to do. So basically, everyone saw that he got canceled, air quotes, and then his music exploded. It's kind of like the Dr. Seuss books. If you look on Amazon right now, I checked it a few days ago. They're the top selling books 1 through 8.
Wow.
Selling books.
Well, it's because it's digital book burning.
So, do either one of y'all listen to David Allan Coe?
Yeah.
Where he did the That Ain't Country?
Yeah.
That is no longer you can't buy that on Apple, iTunes, you can't buy that Spotify, nothing. Gone.
See, and that's so crazy because music is art. I think comedy is art. When did we start censoring art? Because you know who censored art? Fucking Nazis.
Like
it's everything, and I don't like comparing, Hitler owned a dog, so anyone who owns a dog is awful.
Hitler was
Joe
vegan.
Biden owns 2 German Shepherds. He must be the next. Like, okay, that's ridiculous. But
Hitler's vegan, meaning all vegans are Hitler.
Turning any art form into propaganda or canceling the forms of it that are not propaganda to you, that's the Nazis did that.
It's literally like book burning. Like that's some Fahrenheit 451 shit right
now,
there.
In
it's
defense,
ridiculous.
In the song, If That Ain't Country, he does say the N-word.
But see, so I saw a meme on Facebook earlier today, I think. But it was like, if we're gonna, if we have such an issue with the N-word being in music, how about we start with rap? And it's like, really, like, so why are these country singers being punished for it? And the obvious answer is because they're white. And that's not fair. Honestly, that's racist. Like, if we have decided that a word is only acceptable by a certain ethnicity, that's wrong.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I don't think, honestly, it would just be better if nobody said the word, I guess.
Right. If it's that offensive that you're going to cost some dude his job over saying it to his friend with no hostility, then how about no one fucking say it?
And I think context is key, but honestly, it's art to me. So, like, it should be, art is fair game. There are, brutal, gory depictions in art, and that's some of the most moving pieces of art ever.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know. I just think art, and comedians are art to me. It's verbal art. They've always been thought that way.
They have to craft these jokes to form a
what
line.
is it? Joe Rogan said he spent like 6 hours a day forming a new routine. Now, it wasn't all the time. Like, he did a routine and he performed the same routine at multiple venues.
Yeah.
So, he wrote one routine a year, let's say. I don't know how many he actually did. But not only do you have to write it and plan it out, then you have to go on trial runs. You have to go to these 15-minute comedy sessions and try it bit by bit and see what needs fine-tuning, what needs this, what needs that. It is a mastercraft. And, like I said, art shouldn't be censored. Art is part of... It's a humanity that actually makes us human. Mm-hmm. Like, no other creature in the world that we know of observes art, observes abstractism. Mm-hmm. And I just... There's no way, shape, or form I think it should ever be censored.
Mm-hmm. And for the record, I'm not saying that they should be necessarily allowed to say the N-word, because it's pretty hard to find a context where that would be funny, or you know what I'm saying?
That's funny all the time when Dave Chappelle says it. Every time.
Every single time.
Well, if y'all ever watch Ron White, he did a bit. It was Chris Hemsworth he was talking about, and he was talking about what's the movie? It's
Thor.
It's no. It's like the movie where she goes
having his shirt off.
It's like Eat My Shit. It's the one black lady says Eat My Shit when she makes
it's The Help.
Yeah, he was watching. He goes. I know he's not a young, and he says the N-word, but he doesn't. Not the A, not the hard R. He says, I can't say it.
Yeah, I can't say it on YouTube. But anyway,
it's R-O. It's the R-O one. He says that. No one batted an eye. You know why? Because it's fucking Ron White. He's fucking 60-something years old. He's just sitting there. And it was funny. It was a funny joke.
No one Ron White. He was probably crossfaded. He was probably drunk and high at the same time when he got that bit.
But goddamn,
Ron White is goals.
Mm-hmm. I want that level of don't give a rip.
No shit.
But now, let me think of another one.
So Kathy Griffith got canceled.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and mention that. This was early 2016, just after Donald Trump got elected. Now, if you don't remember, she basically, I think it was on SNL, but she did a bit where she she did behead the effigy of Donald Trump on live TV. And I mean, we're talking like gory effigy, like... Alright, so...
Just look up the video.
It was a bloody, decapitated Donald Trump.
Like, it was an ISIS type decapitation of an effigy of the United States president. Now, I understand, like, we do Shakespeare in the Park in Washington, D.C., and people, the president is Caesar. And, I understand it's pretty off-color. I don't necessarily find it a threat to do Shakespeare in the Park with the president as Caesar. They did it with Obama. They did it with Trump. It's kind of a just... It's just a...
It's a running thing now.
Yeah. Not a routine, but a tradition. So, the difference is, what she did was...
There was no punchline.
So, the argument is, well, she's a comedian, she was doing it on SNL, and it's like, there was no joke. this chick is stone cold. Like, this was a political statement.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, and
like,
so I just want you guys to imagine for a second if that was, I don't know, let's say Jeff Foxworthy, and he held up a bloodied, decapitated Obama head on national television. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
They wouldn't have let that dude keep his house.
No.
There's not a...
He would no longer be a sponsored by
they would have taken away his fucking citizenship.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
and it is extremely distasteful. Now, what was it? So there's a South Park joke. It's like, you don't want what happened to Kathy Griffith to happen to you. It's like, oh, what? I performed one joke on SNL and I'm not funny for the past 25 years? And it's like... Yeah,
you know, like... The only times they try to cancel South Park and they just tell them, fuck you.
And that's, again...
The only people South Park don't go against is Muslims, and that's because they said, and I quote, we don't want to get bombed, is what they told the creators of South Park.
That's one thing, like, Christians take a joke. Well, not all Christians take a joke, but we sure as hell all take it better than Muslims. Because I see depictions of Jesus in a funny context all the time, and I'm not like, oh, that's offensive. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes it's offensive to me, but... I'm also not going to go blow myself up at the front porch. Like, but I guess that's a separate topic.
But yeah, like, God, where was he from? Was he from Belgium? Is that where the cartoonist was from who first depicted Muhammad?
Yep.
Was that where?
He was a European. I think it was.
He was a European guy.
It was either Belgium or France. I don't remember which.
France had the grocery store bombings.
Yeah.
They blew up it was in the Jewish quarter too.
Yeah. So they took cancel culture a little too far.
Yeah, little.
But
so back to Kathy Griffith. Like I said, the difference there is that it wasn't a joke. That was a political statement.
Here's the thing,
to
though.
me.
To you, it's not a joke. To someone else, that could have been funny. That's the problem.
Anyone who finds that funny, I don't need to associate with.
I mean,
and it's the same thing. Like if Jeff Foxworthy had done it about Obama, like okay, that's not cool. Whether you like the president of the United States or not. We should not allow that kind of...
I don't agree. I believe everyone, either it's all funny or none of it's funny. Either it's all allowed or none of it's... I don't believe...
I think it's a spectrum.
That's really black and white.
I don't believe that just because you're a president means I can't make fun of you. That's no.
No, you can make fun of the president. That's not what...
You just can't decapitate an effigy on national television.
It's my favorite thing to make fun of how Joe Biden can't say a 7-syllable word. That's
hey, while we're talking about people getting canceled for the N-word, have you seen the clip from Steven Crowder where he says the N-word? Sure as shit sounds like the N-word. It's like during a speech, he's got the mask on, and God, he plays it on one of his podcasts. But
is Joe Biden?
It's Joe Biden.
No way.
And it's like, I mean, he plays it like 3 times, and it sure as shit sounds like he's calling black people the N-word. And I thought it was really funny.
Right. I don't know what I was at. But yeah, I don't... You really think they should be allowed, like... I think as a society, we should be like, you probably shouldn't.
Is it bad? Yeah. Is it bad taste? Yes. But to some people, again, it's funny as fuck.
But again, we're not talking about Amy Schumer joking about her vagina and how much it stinks on... okay, that's bad taste and humor, in my opinion, but...
Bad taste
what she did was totally... that's way out of the realm of...
Even within comedy, I think there's definitely a line.
Yeah.
So, like, if you went up there and some comedian just started talking about, like, assassination threats, and there was no punchline...
Yeah.
It's like...
The punchline was, I'm going to do this.
The assassination.
Even the people there, who I'm sure liked the dude the comedian was threatening, they were like, what the fuck is he going on about?
We're Secret Service, hang on.
Like, as much as some people... didn't like, any president. I'm sure that most people didn't actually want the person assassinated, let alone decapitated.
Right.
And that's...
Well, I don't know about that.
You ever met...
I don't know about now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might. At least in 2016, maybe they did.
Man,
they were still trying to pretend to give him a chance.
Yeah. Keywords, pretend.
Yeah.
God damn it. Okay, so I think we've kind of covered, what's acceptable... and what we really our feelings are about cancel culture and comedy. So let's start talking symbolism. So when I say symbolism, I'm talking about like Land O'Lakes Butter Lady.
God damn.
I'm going to let you say it because you thought of it and it's really fucking funny.
So I saw a thing. I can't remember who posted it. If you find it, let us know in the comments. But this guy went on about how they got rid of Aunt Jemima. They got rid of the butter
Land O'Lakes,
the butter ladies, and the guy goes, but you know how they left Quaker Oats? They left out Captain Crunch. They left all the white people alone.
Lucky Charms.
They got rid of the minorities. Sounds like they're trying to do segregation by logos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it kind of looks like you're getting rid of the minority logos here.
And it is kind of it. He's right. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, so
you just left the white ones.
I get the argument that you don't want that kind of representation. But the Land O'Lakes butter lady, she was traditionally Indian. Like, I don't. What was offensive about that?
So they kept standard white people, get rid of the Indian, keep the land.
So Jesus,
God damn.
So, as a general rule of thumb, and I got this from Bill Maher, so credit to him, but you can't be more pissed off than the victim. So, like, I'll use the Redskins. We won't stay back on sports for very long because I don't know about the Aunt Jemima lady, but they quoted, or they polled actual Indians, and the only Indians who gave a fuck were the white ones who weren't, they were just kind of Indian, and they were just pissed that they weren't making money off of the name. So, but
that's not a good reason to cancel it.
Right, that's not a good reason to switch. But 9 out of 10 Indians didn't care. When 90% of the group you're trying to defend couldn't care, you're being more outraged than the victim.
That's the thing is, most of the people are offended on behalf of who.
And see, that's crazy. That's enough.
Like, who are you to be offended? Again, the Scottish comedian, he had his sister was disabled, and he goes, if you find this offensive, go fuck yourself because this was my sister. I looked after her. She goes, shame on you for being offended on her behalf. Because you don't know. She goes, she was the most laughable. She made fun of her own disability.
Well, so during the BLM riots, like, you saw, it was an actual black lady. Like, she came up, and they aired it, but she was coming up and is like, what are you doing? You're tearing down your own neighborhood. And it's some spoiled white college chick that comes up and yells in her face, correcting her. You don't... And it's like, really?
There is a famous... it's a famous clip. It's this black store owner. They burnt down his store. And they burnt down it. He now has nothing, no income. And he's basically crying, yelling at these protesters. He goes, you mad at the white man? Why burn down my store? Why burn down my stuff? Mm-hmm. He goes, now you just made another homeless person. What was the reason for it? And he's yelling at these young kids. He goes, you mad at them? Go to Capitol Hill. Stop coming in the ghetto.
Well, it sounds like he was inciting violence.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't listened to our Trump impeachment podcast, it's a reference. But, I mean, that's... what did you see about the Irish people? I'm sure a lot of people have seen it now.
It's the Lucky Charms said they're not going to change the logos because Irish people don't get offended so easily.
Yeah.
Which is true.
But what you said about, you can't be more offended than the victim, because then you're just outraged. You're just, to me, that you're just, what's the word? Virtue signaling. Okay, I'm so I'm outraged on your behalf. Look, if you're that offended, you don't need me on your behalf. You're gonna handle your own stuff.
So,
and that doesn't mean, if I don't support your cause, I won't be there with you.
But in Oklahoma, they got rid of the license plate. It used to be an Indian. It's Oklahoma. A lot of Indians. And they said it's on behalf of the Indians. And all the Indians said, we don't care. They tried to get rid of the Capitol statue, and they said, why? It's anything. It's just a signal of what we are. It's Oklahoma. When you think of Oklahoma, you think of Indians.
So, was there more to that, or?
So, when you think of Oklahoma, you think of Indians. You think of people on their horses and wagons.
I was in middle school, and some chick from California actually came to our middle school, and she had moved here, obviously. And she's like, when I moved to Oklahoma, my parents told me, I started crying because I thought you guys still rode around in wagons and lived in teepees. Yeah. And I'm like, I promise, we've got houses. I mean, kind of like teepees, and I do have 2 horses. You know what? Maybe we do.
My history teacher, he had to teach this guy. They came from New York. He goes, man, when I moved here, I thought there would be more horses than Indians. And he goes, this is 2005.
Right.
He goes, if you want to meet Indians, you go to Anadarko.
Yeah, Anadarko or Comanche or Choctaw.
He goes, this is fucking Stillwater.
Yeah.
This is Stillwater Prague.
So,
all right?
I think what the whole problem with this whole cancel culture thing is, so like I don't know what year it was, but it was the first time Merriam-Webster Dictionary included their dictionary without cuss words in it. And the National Organization for Women, the NOW, they reached out to them and they said, hey, we want to thank you and congratulate you. This is the first dictionary to not contain the words that were considered like cuss words. And they emailed him back and he said, well, we appreciate your effort in looking them up. And if you don't get the point there, it's that these people bought the dictionary, looked for the words, tried to be outraged. And I think that's really what this was. This whole cancel culture thing mostly is. It's just a bunch of people trying to be outraged at something that's really not worth it.
Well, that's what happens. Like, this is my personal opinion. But I think we're a society who has been deprived of all hardship. Like, especially here in America. I'm not going to judge, there are people in third world nations. But for a lot of us, there isn't, like, we know where our food's coming from. Like, the starvation rate in America is really low. Like, it's higher than it should be, because no one should be going hungry in America. But
anywhere. No one should go hungry.
No one should go hungry anywhere. But in America, specifically, no one should have to go hungry. All right? But, oh, shit. You totally made me lose my train of thought. What was I saying? God damn it.
Something about people going hungry?
Yeah, I know. Totally lost. It's gone. Fuck.
I think cancel culture started off as good. I think it really did start off as like people wanted to do the right thing. But
I remember.
It snowballed to people wanting like, oh, these people got validation. They look so, strong. It's for likes. It's now instead of, trying to get rid of someone who obviously needs it to.
It's publicity
How many followers and likes can I get on my Instagram and Twitter now because I dug up this so-and-so's past from 15 years ago when he was 16 and dumb.
And pointed out.
And then he made a joke that in today's standards is not good, but back then was hilarious.
Right.
So
that's another thing you have to consider is times change. So, back in 2000, what was socially acceptable is not what is socially acceptable now. Mm-hmm. Like, and I mean, I wasn't an adult then, but so to what I was gonna say is, I think we live such privileged lives, and I'm not talking white privilege or anything like that. I'm saying, as Americans, we have American privilege. We have so little to actually be outraged and upset about that we have started as a society to just rage against the machine. Mm-hmm. We've got to find something to be angry about to justify, our feelings of anxiety or stress or whatever. And it can't be, well, I'm hungry. It can't be, well, I can't find work. Which, I mean, during COVID, yeah, a lot of people lost their jobs. But for the most part of American history, we've had it just so good that there wasn't a lot to bitch about. And we've, especially in the 21st century, have just been bored.
Yeah. It's mostly people sitting in the rooms on a Saturday. Nothing better to do. They said, this might be fun.
I mean, could you imagine having to be offended at a Land O'Lakes butter lady?
No.
Like what?
Look at Eskimo Joe's. They did the petition to get rid of it, and then someone started a new one that got 3 times as many more signatures saying no, keep it away.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like where Eskimos really offended that some small business in Stillwater, Oklahoma, was.
And honestly,
called Eskimo Joe's.
They probably didn't have the technology to know what Eskimo Joe's was.
Wow.
Now,
they live in igloos, Garrett. They're Eskimos.
Well, that is not the opinion of this podcast.
I'm not bailing you out this time. That boat can sink.
Yep, sorry, Nick. I've taken on water.
I've sank many times before.
Actually,
I'm fat. I float, motherfuckers.
Did you know in Alaska it's illegal to sell alcohol to natives?
Really? I
saw that on a. God dang, it may have changed by now, but I was watching it. It's like a cops show, but up in Alaska, and it's not Northwood's Law. It's something else, but. Yeah, they actually busted this old dude who was running up and down the river, and he'd bring bottles of liquor.
Did they enforce it?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know how you do that.
Well, that's systematic racism if I've ever heard of it. You can't get drunk in America. What the fuck kind of nonsense is that?
Those are dedicated game wardens.
So I think it's under the guise of like their own welfare. Like, I'm just I
Hearing their argument, I guess, but
yeah, I don't know.
bullshit law.
That's a bullshit law. Like, yeah, if you're right, if you can't get drunk in America, are you even American?
It's like saying they can't eat sugar.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's bullshit, you know.
But so like I was saying, like, you have to be so bored that you're sitting and you go to get butter for whatever your toast, and you're like, there's an Indian lady. And not just one person, but a collective of people have to be that bored. Or like, and the thing is so like Indians weren't upset about it. Aunt Jemima, the estate actually said we want to keep the logo.
So the problem is, you get people who they say they're offended by it. And a lot of people, I don't know if they really agree with it, they just don't want to be the person who disagrees with it. Because you don't want to be the person who's on the other end of, this is racist. You don't be like, well, and it's like, what, are you a racist? I'm like, no. But I don't think that logo is really harming anyone. Like, what did you do?
I think it's improper framing. It's like, just because, like, if you said that Aunt Jemima should stay on the as the logo, I don't think you're a racist.
Yeah.
And I think if someone calls you racist, you should properly tell them to go fuck themselves.
I mean, look at Aunt Jemima. They didn't want to change it. They said, no, we don't. A lot of people, they kept their old Aunt Jemima bottles. They bought the new one, and they're just pouring it in the old one.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is, so like, how do you fight something like this? You know, like, because like
it's a societal thing.
Because it's the problem. So like, the people like us who don't care, right? They don't hear our voice. You know what I'm saying?
We don't care.
Because exactly right. Like, we'll buy Aunt Jemima regardless of what's on the logo or not. But it's the people who do care, and it's like, well, fuck. They've already got, let's say, our business. How can they keep the outraged people? Well, you have to give in. So how do we? So we would have to do some sort of like counterculture thing, like we did with for example,
George Carlin, a counterculture man.
Yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. And the only thing is, like, it's like, okay, if you're going to cave to them, then you're not going to get our business. Like,
you're not going to please both sides. You're going to have to cater to one side or the other.
But that's the thing. And so this goes back to, like, we talked about the NFL. There's an incentive for these corporations to cave. Because, like you said, they're not going to lose our business. They're going to lose the, 10,000 people, and they don't want to lose the profit margin.
Look at Disney. On Disney Plus, they got rid of a bunch of movies.
Fuck.
And... okay, are the jokes or the things dated? Yes. Look at Peter Pan. What makes the red man red? Obviously, it's obviously dated. I get it, but I don't know who was all really offended. Now,
I loved Peter Pan.
I do. Like, I did love Peter Pan.
And it's not like they showed the Indians scalping people. This was a tribe of Indians. They were the good guys.
Yeah.
They were Peter's friends.
Like the Aristocats. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And there's just one scene where it's an Asian cat.
An Asian cat.
And it just goes, egg foo young. He goes, fortune cookie always. And it's hilarious. To me, it's hilarious.
It's part of the song, too.
It sounds like the guy who voices Winnie the Pooh singing it, too. So I'm just thinking Winnie the Pooh with an Asian accent.
It's for fucking kids. Like, these are people getting mad about animated cats.
Right. Now, okay, there's one exception. And it's the crows from Dumbo.
Oh,
now I don't know if you guys are old enough to know Dumbo or have watched the movie. Now, of course, as a child, when you watch Dumbo and you see the crows, you're like, man, the crows are weird. Like, they talk weird. They don't talk like anybody else, and they dress funny, and it's like, I don't understand. And then as an adult, you're like, oh shit, that's an allegory for black people.
The leader's name is Jim. Yeah. His name is Jim Crow.
And
I get it. I get that.
So that is clearly dated.
Yes.
Like, alright, if you want to put, like, a warning or something like that that's like, hey, this has racially sensitive content, then I understand. And that's what Disney was doing, I thought. Now, I don't understand it for Peter Pan or the Aristocats or the other movies they were doing it on. Mulan? Like,
really? I didn't know that they did it for Mulan.
So what Mulan did, the new live-action movie, they wanted to cater to China. Turns out China hated the movie. Absolutely, because in their culture...
Like Mulan bombed.
In their culture, women aren't they're not warriors.
No,
so when the first movie was made, the original, it wasn't meant for China.
It was meant for America.
And everyone loved it. So they got rid of Mushu because he was voiced by a black guy, and China hates black people. And so they had to get rid of a bunch of characters, and China ended up hating it anyway. That's like,
well, so in the cover for that was when they made the live action movie, they're like, well, we're trying to do more historical accuracy to the original tale of Mulan. And it's like, okay, I get that, but you're Disney, and I've seen Mulan. And when you remake a movie, I want a remake of the movie.
Everyone wants to hear...
You took Mushu out, and you instantly took all the comic relief out of that movie.
Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to hear "Be a Man," goddammit.
Yes! I want to hear the goddamn music!
Literally the best scene in that movie is this fucking song, "Be a Man," because she proves she's just as good as everyone fucking else.
Yeah, seriously, women's right advocates should have been up their ass just trying to get it,
It's
anyway.
something else.
Which, I get it.
But whatever Disney's doing, like I said, the one exception I'll make is Dumbo. And in hindsight, I did not see that as a child. I did not make that connection. I don't think any modern children are, unless you're brainwashing your 5-year-old to see racism everywhere.
Unless you're stopping every 5 minutes going, see how racist this is?
Well,
yeah.
See, so the thing that I never understood... So, there's a bunch of movies that, you couldn't make today. So,
Oh, yeah.
Sadly.
Blazing Saddles.
God!
There's a scene in there where they're trying to track down the Klan, right? And they said, well, how are we going to get him over here? And, it's a black sheriff, and is the dude's name Van Wilder? Is that
Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder was the guy, and he basically goes, he's trying to get the Klan's attention, and he goes, hey, boys, look what I got here. And he pulls the black sheriff, and the Klan members instantly run up behind the rock.
Not even, you missed the punchline. The punchline is he pulls the sheriff, the black sheriff, back, and he says, where are the white women at? And that is funny as fuck.
Right. That whole movie,
but you could not do that.
No. There's a scene in the movie where, so the whole point was, they're trying to the town called Rock Ridge. They're trying to basically get everyone to move so they can build a railway through it. And so they said, who can we send? Because they need a sheriff. They said, who can we send that they'll absolutely just kill? So they send this black guy who's now a prisoner. They send him. And as he's coming, there's a famous scene where it's the wives the sheriff is and the bells ring, and they're like, the sheriff is near, and he shows up, he goes to reach for his speech, and everyone draws their guns because they think he's going to pull out a thing.
So, there's no way you can make that movie today. I'll tell you another one that I just thought of, and there's no way they could do it today, and he's a famous actor. Robert Downey Jr. did blackface in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. Oh, and Tropic Thunder was funny as shit.
I don't care who you are. Who's it got? It's got Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr., There's got to be more.
He doesn't do blackface as well. He does yellowface. He dresses as an Asian guy and pretends to be Asian.
Right.
And
remember when he's got the rice hat on?
And he goes, oh, I go to my rice paddy. And then he says something else. He goes, you said you had a rice paddy.
It's out of season for rice patty.
And that's how they catch him.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way they could make any of those movies today. And they're comedy movies. They're meant to...
Right, they're meant to be funny, and they're meant to push those boundaries.
Any Mel Brooks film could not be done today.
Look, and so that's another thing, too, is we didn't really talk about... Well, we did talk about Hollywood a little bit. But don't change movies. If you've got a good script, and it happens so, no one wants to discuss rape. Rape's an awful thing that only the worst among us do. But if you've got a good script, and it's part of your story, I don't want it censored. Mm-hmm. If it adds something... Now, if you're just doing it just to do it, that's different. Mm-hmm. But... If it's adding quality to your plot, I don't...
If it's especially it's a turning point for a character, they think back on it, and it motivates them in the future.
Right.
Yeah, there's tons of ways to do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean...
You fade to black, or she can discuss the trauma without ever showing the scene.
It's all just... it's just, flashbacks, and it's not even the scene, it's just her in her head.
Right.
Or it's too tough for her to talk about.
I don't... No censoring movies, either. It's the same thing as comedy. It's an art form, right. And you should be able to do anything you want in an art form. I don't understand it.
I think the intent behind it is... So, no one... I don't think anyone writing Blazing Saddles was actually trying to portray, black people as, hunting down white women.
A negative stereotype.
So, and you know what I'm saying? I think it was meant to be funny, and thank God they were right. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's a funny fucking line.
I would watch it, and the first scene is literally, these blacks, Chinese, they're working on the railroad, and one of the Chinese guys falls over, and they go, "Doc, that," and he calls them a slur. He goes, "Day's pay for napping on the job." and he goes, all right. He goes, they don't want to waste their horses to find this quicksand. And he goes, send to
Yeah.
And there's two black people, and he goes, "Sir," he said to tell a family secret, my mother was Dutch. And it's just a funny, and he's talking about like, because none of them are happy because they're working on a fucking railroad. He goes, when y'all was slaves, y'all sang like birds. And then they sing this, and then they sing this song that's just making fun of the white people. And he goes, how about the Camptown races? Mm-hmm. And they start singing the fucking Camptown races. And it's just a funny fucking scene.
Well, that's the thing. Like, no one's trying to say, like, okay, not racism, but slavery was funny at the time. And no one, like, it's not necessarily funny that we have a dark spot on American history, really world history.
Yeah.
But, like, it's, god damn it, you're allowed to make jokes! And comedy is tragedy plus time.
Literally, that whole movie is nothing but racism, like, racist jokes, all that, but it's not everybody.
Right.
Like, white people get jokes about blacks, all of them, and it's just a funny movie through and through. The ending scene is they jump into a Cadillac and drive off. And because you know the stereotype, you ride off into the sunset. They ride, they get off the horses, they get in a Cadillac and just drive off.
Right, it's like being offended at Monty Python because it's a negative stereotype about French and
I spit on you, you English cow.
It's fucking funny.
The Black
but
Knight.
like I said, there are times when cancel culture is okay. Like, if we can all share an opinion, like, we are no longer, as a society, going to abide by this. Like, actual racism. Someone actually is a racist.
Now,
all right, I get it.
Now, in some movies, there might be a racist character. That is his bit. That is his whole part.
You don't cancel the whole movie because it's got a racist character.
Well, then you could never have, like, sports movies like Jackie Robinson. You could never have movies like that.
Blindside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's...
fucking Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, shit, that hits on multiple levels.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
because that's disabilities plus...
Right, or The Help. If you haven't seen The Help, The Help's a hilarious movie that I only recently saw.
Oh, it's so good.
And she makes a shit pie. And it's fucking hilarious. But, like I said, I just don't understand the mentality behind it.
People are bored. They're bored and they want validation. It's like, what's the quickest way to get validation?
I wonder if it's part of the problem. So Americans are turning away from Christianity, which has been the major religion. But they've been turning away from religion for a while. But they want to feel like something bigger, like part of something bigger. And since they're not considering religion, which is fine, if people don't want religion, I'm not going to push it down your throat.
No, believe what you want to believe.
You want to be part of something bigger, so you're joining these counterculture movements when there's nothing to fight about. Mm-hmm. So you've got, there's stuff to fight about, but there's nothing, no one's civil rights are being trampled on, all right? Like
not in today's time.
Yeah.
Now, you want to make that argument a few decades ago, that's reasonable, but was it much racism when Obama got elected?
Yeah. That's
my thing.
You're offended over nothing. Over literally the logo for a stick of butter. Do you have any idea how bored you have to be? As a collective, this wasn't just one person. This was a group of people. Mm-hmm. Or like, what were we talking about? The Jeep Grand Cherokee. They want the Cherokee removed, or I think he's actually going after money for the use of their tribe name. Which goes to your point earlier.
If the Cherokee want, that is a tribal name. I don't think they'd be too bad to like
German chocolate cake, and I don't want money every time they sell it.
You don't have a monopoly on the word Cherokee. No, right. I mean, no offense to the Cherokee Nation, but you don't have a monopoly on any word. That's like if you try to monopolize the word the. It's like that. No, like we can't.
We're not going to trademark that.
The only trademark word thing is the fucking. What's it? The birthday song, the Happy Birthday. Every time they sing Happy or like Zombies is a trademark thing.
Oh well, yeah, music can be trademarked, but that's not exactly what we're talking about.
We're saying like to have like if you wanted a sports name or a car name or something like that. Now, I mean they
don't trademark the word; they trademark the logo for sports or the design of the vehicle.
So you can trademark a word if you create. So like zombie. There's a reason The Walking Dead had to call them walkers, because zombie is a trademarked word.
Zombie is an actual trademarked word. But like if you come up with it, I guess I understand. But again, like it's kind of irrelevant to what we're talking about.
Right.
Like,
do you think they'll cave? eventually? You think they'll?
I think everyone's gonna cave. I think until we get together as a group of people who don't give a shit and are like, okay, you're going to stop. Which the problem with that is we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, I don't see it stopping because, like I said, there's a business incentive for them to do it, and they're going to make more money if they just cave. And it's wrong. I find it stupid. But you know what? Like, it's a corporation. They're allowed to do what the fuck they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not. Yeah, it's like.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you really fight this because I can't imagine people getting motivated enough to actually be like, yeah. Because the thing is that it doesn't matter. They're gonna paint you as the bad guy, you know. Even if it's not fair. You know? I mean, like all Chris Pratt said was that there is a God and there is a Jesus and da 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 da, and they tried to cancel him for that. It's like,
so they tried to cancel him a few times.
So apparently, the church he goes to is very against gays. They hate the LGBT community. He has gone on record.
Hate's a strong word, but
the church has come out against it.
Okay then.
But he came out and said, I do not agree with that part of the church. He has said, he goes, that is not something I personally believe in. He goes, I believe in a God. I don't believe he hates these people. And I'm of that same belief. He made these. So my analogy is, I want you to make a bookshelf that you just absolutely hate. You think it looks awful the whole way, and after it's done, you spent like days building it. I want you to break it and then burn it. What's the point? Why would God make someone gay?
Well, so
if he's gonna hang
a little off topic.
Well, because I want to dive into that a little bit. So the whole point of Jesus was that God loved us so much that he wouldn't be separated from us because of things that were sinful. Now, we can have a debate about whether homosexuality is actually a sin. That's not really the point. The point is, you shouldn't be hating nobody because the whole point of Jesus was to come and, no matter what you think of the other person, fix it.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean...
I think in his situation, it was sort of like guilt by association.
Yeah.
So it'd be like if you went to Westboro Baptist, which, if y'all don't know who they are,
very extreme.
They're a group of extremists. Do you know what state they're in? Does anybody know?
Oh, fuck. I want to say, like, Kentucky, but that might just be awful of me.
No idea. But
sorry, Kentuckians.
Yeah. Unless it actually is there, in which case, ha. But they're a radical group of people who will tell you, like, straight up, like, faggots go to hell. And it's like, that is not the
message.
That is not the entirety of Christianity that believes that. Pope Francis has come out and he's, spreading, the entitlement thing. But back to, like, cancel culture, like, you shouldn't... So, like, just because somebody goes to a particular church doesn't mean you should be able to cancel them just because of that church. Because I don't think anyone buys in. So, like, if you're a Republican, you don't buy into everything the Republican Party pushes.
Now, this is for after the podcast when we're done. I have a question for y'all on whether you think tattoos are sinful.
No.
Because it is, okay, in the newer version of the Bible...
It's against the law of Moses.
It says you're not supposed to scar or commit tattoos.
So
the problem is tattoo was not a word until the 18th century.
So the reason for that is...
I believe that the Bible was written by man. Man is sinful. Man is prideful. They're going to put whatever they think at the time is socially acceptable. So the Bible is God's word, but it's been altered for humans.
Well, we'll do a theology podcast at one point, and if you guys are interested in hearing.
Sorry, this is way off topic. We'll try to get back here in a second.
To complete your thought, though, so that's a law of Moses, is that you're not, which is Old Testament law, it's Judaic law.
It's like
something.
It starts with L. I can't remember.
Leviticus. But so the reason they did that is because the Jews, quote unquote pagans, had the tattoos, had the scars, had the markings on their body, and they're like, look, we are not them. Therefore, we should not do what they do because we are separate. We have a different God. It was more to what's the word? separate themselves further from these things that were
from the pagans around them.
Right, from the Egyptians, from
but hold on, we're getting
sorry. We'll do this later.
We will get a theology podcast later at some point. I promise you. Politics is a little slow right now, so
yeah, it's because our president's a little slow.
Well, he still thinks we haven't landed on the moon yet.
I will tell you this: it is at least more. Like I can breathe a little bit calmer now that I don't have to worry about this motherfucker tweeting something and it's like, well, shit, now we're in a war.
God, yeah, Syria bombing, but I mean, I have to agree with you. Like, at least I don't have to be. I never got on Twitter, but I had to hear every goddamn morning about who Trump was pissed off about and who he was yelling at on Twitter.
Does Joe Biden have a Twitter?
He does.
But he definitely doesn't run it. Because I'm saying if he did, you'd hear a lot of pancakes for Israel. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Joe?
Jill had to change my diaper this morning. It was fun.
Kabbalah said there would be ice cream here.
She lied.
Jeez.
I don't know why she's sitting in my chair.
I fully believe that after Joe Biden won, he called Obama and said, "Obama, you're president."
Yeah. Nope, you're wrong.
Joe, count to 10 backwards. 1, 7, 13, C. Gosh,
gets him every time.
That's it. We don't have to worry about him staying up till 3 in the morning.
Cancel culture. So I think we've all pretty much. So we're all, for the most part, we're against bullshit cancel culture. Don't cancel comedians. Don't try to censor forms of art. God, for God's sake, don't censor Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. Okay.
Jesus.
Okay. So Dr. Seuss, the books that they mostly had a problem with were definitely racist. They were made in the 30s, and they were very heavily racist. But
I've never read a Dr. Seuss book and went, man, that's racist.
These aren't his famous books. These aren't his later books that everyone read, like Green Eggs and Ham. This isn't that. This is where he was just starting out, and he wrote these books. So I get that. It's like 6 of them.
I'm against book burning, though. Just because you don't agree with a thought doesn't... So just because you don't agree with Hitler doesn't mean you burn Mein Kampf. And if you can still buy a copy of Mein Kampf. But we're going to censor Dr. fucking Seuss.
Yeah, I was about to say, in what world do we live in where you can censor Dr. Seuss but still read Mein Kampf?
Green Eggs and Ham, you saying green people don't have rights? Cancel!
But, I mean... Well, we've been to Disney. And y'all remember that ride?
Don't fucking ride the train.
Yeah, y'all need to...
Don't say the name. Disney will slap us with a copyright. We can't afford that shit. It's a mountain.
They'll take all the stuff I don't have.
It rhymes with Mash Mountain.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Wongs of the Wouth.
And it's...
Zippity fucking doodah. There we go.
Well, there it is. We're down.
I love that song, though. I love that song, though. That's the problem. I love that fucking song.
That's catchy as shit, I'll tell you. But getting on the ride...
But as a kid, when I first got it, I was 14. I didn't think it was racist or anything. I thought it was just a funny cartoon ride. You went down a log. I'm 19, about to be 20.
Yeah, so I'm almost a decade older than you. But so that means I would have been... If you were
40.
Huh?
You're 40.
No, I'm... What
math did you do?
He's 40, you're 50. What? I'm just bad at numbers, guys.
That's a Oklahoma education, right? Number 46th in the nation. But I don't know if that's true. But
damn near close. We're like second in education.
Second to last.
But see, I was at least over 18, I think, and I for sure got off at knowing, like, God damn, that was racist.
Well, come here, brother rabbit.
That made me uncomfortable. And I'm white.
So they don't censor the stuff like that, but they'll censor...
Horton Hears a Who.
No. They definitely censored that movie. That movie, I can find copies, but you gotta find them on like Craigslist or eBay, because you ain't gonna find that on Disney+.
You gotta find it on 4chan.
You're not gonna find that movie on Disney+.
No.
Did we miss any other big name people who got canceled?
Gina Carano.
Yeah. You know, that's an odd one because, what's his name?
If y'all have any that we've missed, please comment them.
Pietro, is his name Pietro Pascal? The dude who played the Mandalorian?
Yes. Oh, fuck if I know.
That is his name?
That's his name.
Okay, well, he compared something. He compared, I think, the migrant cages, like the concentration camps, to the Holocaust. and
I don't think that was him.
no one cared.
I think that was
Yeah.
AOC.
Well,
No one cared until AOC said it. Let's be honest.
And then, well, I'm saying no, he didn't receive any backlash. No one was trying to fire him after that.
I would argue he wasn't a big name person.
Don't get me wrong. It's probably
he's still
stupid.
the Mandalorian.
This is way before the
It's-
This is maybe Game of
Hold on,
Thrones.
you're ignoring the whole point though. Is that no one tried to cancel him when he compared. You should never compare something to the Holocaust.
That's not the fucking Holocaust. Except what China's doing to the Uyghur Muslims, because that's like the fucking Holocaust.
Yeah.
That's pretty goddamn identical.
We're talking like general rule of thumb. So like, what both of they said stupid? Yes.
I would argue the reason no one tried to cancel him is because there's no point. He's not a big name actor.
Yeah, he is.
He's not at the time he was.
Neither was Gina Carano though.
Yeah, she's not. She's like more famous for being an MMA fighter. Honestly.
But so like, Pedro Pascal at the time, he was maybe everyone knew him from Game of Thrones. That was it. Other than that, he wasn't even a big actor at the time. He is now. But like when AOC compared it, she's a politician.
Yeah, but see, that's not the same thing though, because what he's trying to say is like, so Gina Carano got, what was her comment?
But, okay, you see how
she compared being a Republican today to being a Jew in 1930s Germany.
So
yeah, so it's not like that.
So okay,
yet.
But the thing is, what would get you more likes or validation? Some no-name actor at the time, or Chris Hemsworth?
But I didn't know who the fuck Gina Carano was. I didn't know who the fuck whatever his fucking name is
Pedro
now.
Pascal.
I don't know. Like, just when I watch a show, I didn't know Robert Downey fucking Jr.'s name until Iron Man 3.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't know actor names. People tell
I
me,
don't pay attention.
They tell me their parts, I'm like, oh, that guy.
Yeah, if you asked me in 2000 fucking whatever, Robert Downey Jr. and I wouldn't know him. You say Iron Man, Thor, like you tell me the part they played.
You name the Avengers.
But again.
But we're not deep moviegoers either. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like I'm sure someone more enthused in the movies could tell you who they were, but
I don't know if you can make any John Wayne movies today. First,
a lot of them are really uncontroversial, except they do have Native Americans.
Yeah, the
Portrayed in a
Native
not so
Americans
great light.
are always the enemies. It's the problem. They're always the
Well,
enemies.
that's not true. He's got Korean movies and Vietnam movies. And...
yeah,
he's got one Vietnam movie. He's got one African movie.
He plays a bunch. He does a lot of World War II movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so finish your point. Finish your point, Wyatt.
I think that was it. I was just like you shouldn't. In general, you shouldn't compare them, but you definitely shouldn't fire one of them. You know what I'm saying?
And not the other.
Right.
Like
yeah.
when you have a standard,
You can't be outraged by someone but not the other.
right?
Everyone's either on the same pedestal or they're not.
Right. And if they're not, let me
Well,
know.
I don't think there's anything wrong. So, like, if you're gonna, like, if two people compare something to something and one of them is wrong,
Now,
it's okay to tell the one he's wrong.
Now, I
and
think-
then tell the other one he's right. But I still don't think like you compare anything to Hitler's Germany, you better be right.
So
Yeah.
I think actors and athletes are held to a higher standard because you are a predominant role model. So if, say, Chris Hemsworth, called a black guy the N-word, clearly because, it's just because he's black. If everyone would be pretty mad at Chris Hemsworth. Right, that's understandable. Because he's a role model. If it's just a regular...
I'm just as mad at Chris Hemsworth for that as I'm going to be at the dude walking down 23rd Street.
I bet you remember Chris Hemsworth a lot longer.
So
I think that's his point. It's like honestly, I don't care what some like homeless man at like 7-Eleven says compared to like someone who people who look up to.
Exactly. So like everyone, these are
more
role
influential.
models.
Yeah. So the more social power you have, the more social responsibility you have to use your voice.
So we all in agreement that
Yeah.
cancel culture is not bad in general. I believe people are taking it too far, and they're more seeking validation nowadays than they are actually trying. Because it's like the boy who cried wolf. You can only cry wolf so many times before no one believes you anymore. You can only cry racist so many times before actual racism goes unlooked.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, any closing thoughts and arguments?
Cancel culture bullshit for the most part. Like, if you're ever a victim of cancel culture, all you tell them fuck off. Like, and I know that's hard. That's the only thing you can do is when they're pushing you and pushing you and pushing you.
Now know your audience too. Don't tell a racist joke to a group of black people.
No,
You might not walk out of that open mic alive.
don't think that's necessarily true. I think black people have just as good a sense of humor as everybody else. I'm just saying, and it's not the jokes that matter. It's just, if they're trying to cancel you for something you said, and it's really, like, it's not...
If it's
like
not
Nazi,
you anymore.
Yeah, if it's not Nazi Germany level propaganda, tell them to fuck off. That's all you can do. You're a free-thinking individual allowed to have your own opinions. Whether they're right, wrong, indifferent, I don't care.
And please, for the love of God, don't dig up someone's past when they were a kid.
Yeah.
Everyone makes stupid decisions.
Now that one, to kind of close on that one, I actually know that one really well. Not from me personally, but they do this all the time for college athletes. So just to give you guys a couple examples. So like Josh Allen, quarterback for the Bills, as soon as he was drafted, they went and they found old tweets of him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, racially insensitive to say the least. Kyler Murray, quarterback Oklahoma, won the Heisman. A few minutes after he got the trophy and gave a speech, they found a bunch of tweets from whenever he was 14, and he was talking about gay people, and he said the F word you don't say about gay people.
The one you said earlier?
Yeah, I mean, he
context?
said the word... Yeah, well, I said it in context of something else, but I'm not going to say it like out loud. Well, I mean, like, I don't think faggot's necessarily a bad word. Like, you shouldn't use it in the context of talking to a gay person.
It shouldn't... No.
But that's not the point. The point is that they used it to try and, like, get dirt on him, and I don't think that's fair. For one, he's a kid.
Yeah, these are kids
Like,
making a mistake.
He was 19, you know? Like...
So, I guess...
So
you can make a joke, but a word should never be used as a derogatory term.
And like, I sure hope nobody digs up something that you said whenever you were 9.
See, this is why I don't have Twitter and stuff, because I'm dumb.
Right.
And we put you on YouTube anyway.
See, if half the people... So, I went to a predominantly white school, played football. We played an all-black school except for 2 people. And boy, I've been called a cracker so long.
No. I mean, competitive things slip out, but that's still not...
Yeah,
but you know, at the end of the game...
I would say that's not...
At the end of the game, no one cared. No hard feelings. Stuff happens, and they said, good job. Good game. Granted, we got our ass whipped, so they really didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And we got our ass whooped.
Alright, so, anything else? Anything else?
No, I think that's it. I mean, like I said, if you're ever a victim of cancel culture, tell them to fuck off. That's my big thing, and that's what it's going to have to be. We as a collective are going to have to tell you, no, if you're going to cave to them, then you no longer get our business.
So I think you're right. The thing is, like, we as a collective, but I think the hardest part of that is the dude who's being accused of it has to tell him fuck off. Yep. And I think that's the real hard part, because we don't have any skin to lose. That person does. If they bet on black and it doesn't hit, like on roulette,
their careers,
then it's game over.
Yeah, like, so if someone comes after your job,
but just know, it's never one apology is never enough. They want
everything. Just because you apologize, you're still going to lose your job, so you might as well go down fighting.
Yep.
That's my opinion. Take it for what this is. Not life advice. That's what I do. Someone come after me for my job because of something I tweeted or posted on Facebook, I'm going down fighting, because I'm probably going down either way.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll turn it into a career in politics. I'll become a host on Fox News. Tucker Carlson, I'm coming for your job.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, that has been a good episode. I will holler at y'all later, and this has been the Refined Peasants.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification bell in the corner, and be sure to let us know if you guys have any ideas for what you want to see from us next. We're a new upcoming podcast. Share it with your friends if you're confident.